I only appeared in matters where the courts have laid down the law. Anyway, coming to the subject. As the topic itself suggests, passing of action is not static. Passing off is an ever-growing concept. Passing off theory was based on the concept of deceit, and later on, passing off was held even in cases where there was no deceit or no intention to cheat or intention to defraud.
Sir, may I
And
stop? Sir, I'm sorry
yes,
to interrupt.
sure, sure.
Let me just start, sir, the presentation so that, my lord,
Sure,
sir, viewers will have a, yeah.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
An innocent misrepresentation resulting in confusion or deception was held later on to be actionable. Originally, passing off was confined to the goods, only the goods. Later on, it was extended to services. The whole basis of the passing off theory being no one has a right to represent his goods or services as being goods of someone else. And secondly, the court will restrain the making of such misrepresentation even though it is not made fraudulently. This being the basis, as the trade expanded and activities increased, ingenious traders started different forms of activities which were not legal to promote their own trade or business. The passing of action took cognizance of such activities and increased its domain. Historically, the case pertaining to a passing of action which is reported is the case of the 17th century, namely Southern versus Howe. It was an action, as the judge said in that case, passing upon the case which was brought in the common law's plea by a clothier, that is a cloth merchant, that whereas he had gained great reputation of his making his cloth, and by reason whereof he had great utterance to his great benefit and profit, and that he used to set his mark on the cloth, whereby it should be known to be his cloth, and another clothier perceived it, used the same mark to the ill-made cloth on the purpose to deceive him. It was resolved that the action will lie. This is the first case. You will find it in the presentation which is produced by Mr. Kamod. This can be said to be the beginning of the journey of the law of passing off. During the journey, the law achieved various milestones, as we will discuss later on. In the 17th and 18th century, dishonesty and fraudulent intention was considered to be an essential element of passing of action. The defendant must have intended to deceive and must have caused deception and confusion. At this stage, it is important to note that to deceive and to cause confusion are two different things. To deceive is one thing and to cause confusion is another. To deceive is to make somebody believe in something that is not true by making a statement which is false to the knowledge of the maker. To cause confusion is to make a statement, the listener of which is put in a state of wonderment. And the statement was made with a fraudulent intention of deliberately causing deception and confusion in the 17th and 18th century. The passing of action was held to be maintainable. And if a statement was made without any intention or without any knowledge of the falsity of the statement, the passing of action would not have taken place against the maker of such statement. Deceit of the fraudulent intention was the kernel of the action. In the absence of deceit, the defendant escaped liability. This position continued till 19th century when the decision was given in the case of Millington versus Fox. Certain goods were known by its locality, but that will come a little later on. Let us consider the Millington versus Fox. It was in the year 1838. In short, it does not appear to me there was any fraudulent intention in the use of the plaintiff's mark. The circumstance, however, does not deprive the plaintiff of their right to the exclusive use of those names. Up. Kamod.
Yes, sir.
No, that's all right. Then, therefore, it was held that fraudulent intention is not a must to maintain the passing off action. This was a major milestone in the journey of the law of passing off. The journey of the law of passing off continued, and another aspect was brought under the realm of passing off. Certain goods were known by its locality where they were produced and by reason of special attributes of those goods, and therefore the name of that locality or any identifications of that locality could be used as trademarks only in respect of goods originating from that locality. These are the champagne and Scotch whisky cases that are known in the trademark law. A particular wine was produced in the Champagne district of France. It had its own attributes of taste and mellowness, which were present in the type of wine produced only in Champagne district of France. And that is why that wine was called champagne. Only if the wine was produced in Champagne district of France, it could be called as champagne. Anybody and everybody producing wine elsewhere was not allowed to use champagne as a trademark or a trade name. Similarly, whiskey distilled and matured in Scotland of the United Kingdom has its own taste and flavor. I need not elaborate that, though I am a teetotaler. This was because of the water used in making the whiskey. That water had special elements because of its flowing from highland of Scotland. If a whiskey is to be called Scotch whiskey, it has to be wholly distilled and matured for some time at least in Scotland. It is because of this particular soil, the type of water and the weather resulted in that whiskey having special attributes, and no other whiskey not wholly distilled and matured in Scotland could be called Scotch whiskey. These cases showed another milestone in the journey of theory of passing off. Interestingly, further extension took place when the defendant in respect of whiskey, which was not a Scotch whiskey, did not make a direct misrepresentation of calling it Scotch whiskey, but used other indicia or words like Scot, S-C-O-T, or Scott, S-C-O-T-T, in effect suggesting Scotch, or used other devices such as Scottish emblems or Scottish dress, that is the tartan skirt or the Scottish headgear, or the word like Glen, which in Scottish language meant valley in Scotland. Glen whiskey was prohibited unless it was produced in Scotland. This was another expansion of the theory of passing off. Second aspect of the expansion was ordinarily a trademark indicates single origin. However, in case of such marks having geographical indications, such marks like champagne and Scotch would be used by a number of traders who manufacture champagne or Scotch, that is champagne made from wine brewed in Champagne district of France, or Scotch whiskey wholly distilled and matured in Scotland. The emphasis was not on individual specific, but it was locality specific. And you will see that later on, Geographical Indications Act came to be enacted to grant protection to certain marks having specific locality indications. Nearer home, examples are Kolhapuri chappals and Devgarh mangoes. Mangoes grown elsewhere other than Sindhudurga district of Maharashtra cannot be called as Devgarh mangoes. This is a statutory recognition of the common law principle of passing off. Anybody and everybody is not entitled to use such geographical indication, but only those who made their product having special attributes resulting in the product being made in that particular area or in that locality were entitled to use that appellation. Now the law didn't stop there. It went further, and a further milestone was achieved in England. In the year 1980, when the House of Lords upheld an indication to a product on the basis of special content of the product in the case known as Advocaat case. In that case, the plaintiff was making a particular drink containing particular specification and proportion of egg and spirit. That content made the product distinctive of the person who sold that product under the trademark Advocaat. The admixture was a tremendous success, and when somebody copied the mark by using it in respect of some other drink, an action was brought by the first manufacturer of original Advocaat, and he succeeded in getting an injunction against the use of the term advocate in respect of drink which did not contain the particular admixture of egg and spirit of the plaintiff. This was the latest expansion of the theory of passing off. It shows that whatever be the ingenuity of the trader, the law of passing off extends his hand to prevent such illegal activities. The action for passing off is sometimes called a part of unfair trading. Unfair trading is a wider concept taking within its fold deceit, misrepresentation, leading to deception and confusion, innocent misrepresentation resulting in confusion or deception, and even true representation resulting in unwittingly in deception and confusion, injurious falsehood, malicious prosecution, and disparagement of goods. Although passing off action and disparagement are regarded as part of the larger genus of unfair competition, there is a basic difference between the two. In the case of passing off action, the defendant represents his goods as those of the plaintiff. In the case of disparagement, he does not do anything of the kind, and to the contrary, the defendant represents that the defendant's goods are the different and superior than those of the plaintiff, and the plaintiff's goods are of inferior quality. Thus, the two cases are mutually exclusive. No case of passing off can take place where there is disparagement, because the defendant is not making any misrepresentation that his goods are the goods of the plaintiff. On the contrary, he distinguishes his goods by calling them superior and at the same time calling the plaintiff's goods as vice versa. Similarly, vice versa is the case in case of passing off. As far as unfair competition is concerned, 10 bis of Paris Convention requires convention countries to provide in their national laws appropriate legal remedies against unfair competition. The English law as well as the Indian law comply with the requirement by recognizing action at law such as injurious falsehood, malicious prosecution, and disparagement of goods. Most of the European countries provide a general cause of action called unfair competition. In Curley's law of trademarks and trade names, while dealing with the topic of passing off action and unfair competition, cases are referred to where attempts were made to expand passing off to cover such acts have been rebuffed. In the case of Hodgkinson versus Wards, it was observed by Jacob J, and I quote, "I turn to consider the law and begin by identifying what is not the law. There is no tort of copying. There is no tort of copying. It may be covered by infringement, but there is infringement of copyright, but there is no tort of copying. There is no tort of taking a man's market or customers. Neither the market nor the customers are the plaintiff's own. There is no tort of making use of another's goodwill as such. There is no tort of competition. I say this because at times the plaintiffs seem to close on to relying on such torts." Unquote. The learned author refers to another case of BBC versus Talksport. In that case, the plaintiff argued that the coverage provided by the defendant of Euro 2000 football matches gave rise to the false impression that the matches were being broadcast live. The judge accepted that this representation was being made, but held that the plaintiff's live broadcasting was no more than a description of the plaintiff's activity and did not give rise to the protectable goodwill owned by the plaintiff. The passing off theory prior to the champagne and Scotch whisky and advocate cases was called classical passing off action, whereas Scotch whisky cases, champagne cases, and advocate cases came to be called the expanded passing off action. The expansion did not stop there. Even prior thereto, expansion had taken place in another direction under the original theory of passing off. A passing off action could be maintained provided the defendant's goods in respect of which misrepresentation was being made were identical to the goods of the plaintiff. Later on, similar goods came to be covered by the act of passing off. Though the plaintiff was not in direct competition with the defendant as far as the goods were or services were concerned, still protection was afforded on the ground that the defendant was trying to take advantage of the reputation of the plaintiff, and the defendant's goods, though not exactly the same as those of the plaintiff, but were similar goods and could be said to be coming from the same source, same origin, that is the plaintiff. For example, if the plaintiff was manufacturing and marketing pharmaceutical preparation under a trademark which had considerable reputation, and if the defendant started selling dietary supplements, he could be prevented from using plaintiff's mark or a mark similar to that of the plaintiff's mark in respect of dietary substances, as confusion was likely to take place in the market that the dietary substances are manufactured by the plaintiff or they originate in the plaintiff. The expansion did not stop there. It went further in preventing totally dissimilar goods being sold under the plaintiff's trademark or trademark deceptively similar to the plaintiff's trademark. The goods may be poles apart. Still, the courts of equity intervened to grant relief in respect of dissimilar goods. You can refer to the case of Volvo, in which case the famous Swedish company manufacturing and selling world famous buses under the mark Volvo filed a suit against the defendant who were using identical mark Volvo in respect of rolled steel bars. The activities were totally different. The Bombay High Court granted an injunction restraining the defendant from using the mark Volvo in respect of steel products on the ground that the plaintiff's mark Volvo was very well known. Similar is the case of Mahindra and Mahindra, where the defendants started using the word Mahindra in respect of paper and paper products. Mahindra and Mahindra, who owned the mark Mahindra, filed a suit in the Bombay High Court and obtained an injunction restraining the defendant from selling paper and paper products under the mark Mahindra. The decision was upheld by the Supreme Court, and in India it came to be recognized that in respect of well-known marks, the Court of Equity will grant injunction to prevent use of identical or deceptively similar mark to that of the plaintiffs in respect of goods which are totally different. Thus, the theory of passing off traveled further, holding that common field of activity was not an essential requirement of maintaining a passing off action. In a Delhi case, it was held that certain marks like Mercedes-Benz are not available for grab. In that case, Mercedes-Benz, the owners of the famous Mercedes-Benz, filed a suit for passing off when the defendant started using the plaintiff's mark in respect of undergarments. It was obvious that no person would get confused that the undergarments are made by the manufacturer of Mercedes-Benz cars. However, injunction was granted on the basis that such use would dilute the plaintiff's trademark and will result gradually in the plaintiff's mark losing its distinctiveness. It was argued that today the defendant was using it in respect of undergarments. Tomorrow, some other trader may start using the same in respect of footwear. Third day, some other trader may indulge in using in respect of other items. Thus, the distinctive character of the plaintiff's trademark will stand diluted. There will be umpteen number of marks of Mercedes in the market. Such a situation was prevented by the court by granting an injunction restraining use of the trademark Mercedes-Benz or any other deceptively similar trademark in respect of garments, undergarments. These landmark cases show a further milestone in the journey of the law of passing off. In the advocate's case, 5 essential characteristics of passing off were laid down. 1. Misrepresentation. 2. Made by a person in the course of trade. 3. To prospective customer or ultimate customer of goods or services supplied by him. 4. Which is calculated to injure the business or goodwill of another trader. And 5. Which causes actual damage to a business or goodwill of a trader by whom the action is brought, or in a quiatimate action will probably do so. In the subsequent case of House of Lords, in the Reckitt-Coleman case, as it is known, Lord Oliver reduced the 5 elements to 3 elements, to put it, which are as follows: 1. Goodwill. 2. Misrepresentation leading to confusion or deception. And 3. Damages. As stated earlier, it was held in cases that fraudulent intent is not a must. In Parker-Knoll case, it was observed that it is not necessary to resort to any abstruse principle, but to a simple, straightforward principle that trading must not only be honest, but must not even unintentionally be unfair. This means adopted for making misrepresentation were very many. You may make direct false representation that your goods are, which you are selling, are the goods made by someone else, or you may adopt a trademark identical or similar to someone else's mark, or you may adopt a sign or essential part of somebody else's mark. You may imitate shape or design. It is an essential in a passing of action that the plaintiff is required to establish reputation. His mark must be known in the market. Unless people associate that mark exclusively with the plaintiff, he may not be able to maintain an action for passing off. Secondly, the plaintiff has to establish misrepresentation, that it is likely to cause confusion or deception. It can be direct or indirect. He need not establish fraudulent intention. All that he has to establish is that the representation made is false and that it is likely to cause deception or confusion. Thirdly, the defendant has to establish damage or likelihood of damage. It is thus clear that passing off action is not static. It is ever growing, as one cannot underestimate any ingenuity of human race. One cannot expect static law to throw its hands up and say, I am helpless. The law has to adopt suitable measures and suitable forms to deal with the changing situations. Passing off action or passing off principle were further extended, and it was not restricted only to the traders or trading organizations. It was applied also in case of charitable institutions and non-profit making bodies. In the case of British Diabetic Association versus Diabetic Society of India, it was held that the names were deceptively similar and confusion could take place as association and society were too close. In an Australian case, use of Australian Society of Accountants versus Federation of Australian Accountants, the defendants were restrained from offering their services under the impugned name. Now, passing off also is not restricted to human beings as was originally thought of. It is now extended to famous characters like Tarzan, James Bond, Mickey Mouse, etc. What came to be known as character merchandising was the exploitation of the reputation earned by such character. Now, this is the position in law as far as passing off is concerned. I conclude by repeating that, as has been said, that the passing off action is the most Protean of actions. Protean was a Greek sea god who assumed different forms to deal with different demons, a concept nearer to our Dashavatar concept. And I am sure that the law of passing off, like Lord Vishnu, will take different forms to deal with different unscrupulous situations and activities. Thank you very much, my friends. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us on these great aspects of passing off. I think maybe we could take a few questions from our viewers, and I think they can put it up in the chat. Or Hiren, would you like to check?
Yeah, let them put it on the chat. You can read out.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Let me help you. So somebody has asked, all of these mostly related to cases of goods. Any landmark judgment that can be suggested for passing off in relating to services?
There are many judgments relating to services. You open a book of Narayan and you will find them.
Correct. Correct. Sir, till the time somebody types, because some of them have separately messaged me also asking these questions, and I thought it would be better to you, and then you can answer. Sir, this use of your own name can't be a defense in an can be a defense in an infringement action, because section 35 specifically provides, sir, that me as Hiren Kamod, if I'm using my name, then even though if somebody manages to get registration of Hiren Kamod, he will never be able to stop me. So in an infringement action, that is a complete defense. But for passing off, even if I'm using my own name, that is no defense available in a passing off action, sir. Can you tell us more about that part?
Yeah. Provided you are using it as a trademark.
Yes.
If you are using it as your own firm name, that you are individual sole proprietor. How otherwise else you will be known as. you will be known as Hiren Kamod. So that can't be stopped. But if you are using Hiren Kamod as a trademark, then even if it is your personal name, it can be restrained. And for example, there is a famous case of Kirloskars. Now, Kirloskars originally was one family. Then some members of the family left that family and established other business like Kirloskar, Dizon, Kirloskar, Rekin and Dizon or other firm. Suit was filed by the group companies of Kirloskar who were original Kirloskar, saying that this amounts to passing off your business as our business. And the court granted an injunction. It was argued that why are you preventing me from using my name? My name is Kirloskar, so I am entitled to use it. The court said, yes, as an individual, you may be able to use it. But if you want to use it in respect of company, you are not entitled to use that. And the logic behind is, as far as your individual name is concerned, you have no choice. That name is foisted on you, whether you like it or not. But as far as company's name is concerned, you have a variety of choice to select. So you should not select, though it is your own name, because by that time, that name has acquired tremendous reputation belonging to somebody else.
That is the logic behind. Therefore,
that is the logic behind.
Therefore, yes, in a passing of action, using your own name is no defense. That's
no defense.
So somebody has said, in case of counterfeiting and passing off, can the court order seizure of goods at the address of seller who is not a manufacturer? Can the order seizure of goods at the address of seller who is not a manufacturer?
Yes, yes. If the counterfeit goods are in the market and it amounts to an infringement, the seller himself is also committing the act of infringement. Therefore, the court is entitled to pass an order at the hands of the seller.
Correct. So somebody has said, is the goodwill necessary condition for claiming passing off action? Sometimes it happens before actually starting production, competitors launch product and claim prior user. And
yes,
court also say, even though you are prior user, you don't have goodwill, as time gap between launch of products between plaintiff and defendant is very low.
But that's a moot subject, because the Supreme Court has recently said that the use is more important than the adoption. So if somebody else has already adopted that mark but not used it, the subsequent user is now put in a better position by the Supreme Court judgment in Neon case.
Correct. That Neon case actually says that
it overturned the law.
It has. In section 29(4) of the Trademarks Act, not in a way trying to codify the ingredients of passing off. So it is in a way codified now. Kindly throw some light on the same. Is section 29(4) of the Trademarks Act 1999 not in a way trying to codify the ingredients of passing off? Question mark. So is it? So it is in a way codified now? Question mark. Kindly throw light on the same.
No, it is not codified. Section 27(2) keeps passing off out of the realm of the Trademarks Act. All that it does is it recognizes the principle which was laid down by passing off law, that even if your activities are totally different, you can be prevented from using that mark, because the plaintiff's mark is a well-known mark.
Correct. So
it enlarged the protection given to a registered trademark, which if it had become a well-known mark, it could prevent others from using it in respect of totally dissimilar goods.
So, sir, we can say 29(4) really recognizes the concept of well-known trademark, which was there before the Trademarks Act of 1999 came into force. It only statutorily recognized it.
Recognized, like Mercedes-Benz.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sir, what are your thoughts on use of passing off action to cover copyrightable actions?
No. No. You may, at times you may make it combined, copyright action and passing off action. And I'll give you an instance. Suppose one film is made under a particular name. Then the second film is made under the same name. The question is whether passing off takes place or infringement is required to be established. Now the Bombay view is somewhat different. The Bombay view of 1942 is that mere similarity of name will not result in passing off. There must be some similarity between the contents of both the films. But that is waiting to be decided by a larger bench.
Sir, I was just going to say there is a larger bench pending on that. Whether
yes, it is pending. Yeah, it is pending on that.
Often in large conglomerates, a separate company is incorporated for holding the trademark's actual use is by group companies. There are no license agreement. Where does the goodwill reside? The holding company or the actual user company?
You see, the licensee is the companies which are using the mark, and the holding company is the proprietor of the mark. So all goodwill inures to the benefit of the proprietor. But there has to be a connection in the course of trade between the proprietary company, that is the main company, and the other subsidiary companies. That can be achieved by maintaining quality control by the main company who is holding the marks.
So what the query also highlights is if there are no written license agreements in place in that kind of a case.
Now you are required to have written license agreements, because if you see the previous view was that as far as common law license is concerned, written agreement is not required. But from the Hindustan Coca-Cola bottling products, it has now been laid down that even in respect of common law license, which is a permitted license within the meaning of the act, a license in writing is required, which will contain the terms which will show the connection in the course of trade. The whole idea is to prevent trafficking in the marks. It should not happen that I own a mark and I allow 20 persons or 30 persons to use that mark and claim royalty on the basis of use. Whatever may be the goods manufactured by them, whatever may be the quality of their goods, I am not concerned. That is trafficking, that is not allowed. And on that, there is a well-known case of American greeting card case, which will throw light on this.
Sir, somebody has asked, what is the degree of goodwill and reputation which would be regarded as sufficient for a claim of passing of action?
That depends on facts of each case. Even 3 weeks reputation can be sufficient. Even before the goods can come in the market, you can file the suit, provided you have sufficiently advertised your goods.
Correct.
So it all depends on the facts of the case.
Sir, somebody has said, must a proprietor of a well-known trademark lead evidence of goodwill and reputation in a passing of case?
Yeah, of course.
If yes,
otherwise, how will he establish that it is a well-known mark?
Sir, and they are saying what kind of evidence, basically?
The extent of use, popularity, evidence by the people, how they have come across this mark, how they know this mark, etc.
Probably sales figures, advertisement.
Sales figures, advertisement expenses,
invoices,
yes.
cuttings.
Advertisements.
In case of a label device mark, we claim trademark right as well as copyright. Is it right to claim both the rights together?
Of course. Because label mark itself is an artistic work. Provided it is original, then you can claim copyright in it. You yourself have created or you have caused it to be created for you.
Sir, somebody said, if I do not have any registration of my trademark, if someone registers my trademark and uses the same in respect of identical goods, is passing of remedy available?
Yes, it is available, provided you are prior user.
Correct. Is there any relevant case law? Whirlpool, best as in...
Yes, best is Whirlpool. A suit was filed against the registered proprietor of the mark.
Correct, sir. Just a second. In case similarity of goods. Similarity of goods as a prerequisite to protect well-known trademarks after Nandini judgment. So will similarity of goods override the provision of section 29(4)?
No, I don't think so.
No, and two things, sir. Nandini judgment was in the context of opposition proceedings. It
Correct.
was in the context of 29(1) and 2 also.
29(4), yeah.
Sir, one of them had separately also messaged on this interesting proposition, which you have actually answered in a way now, that using my own name is no defense. So, yes. For example, in a case, sir, which I was arguing once before the Bombay High Court, and the query is relating to that only, that what if the defendant is, what he is using is a statement of truth?
Yeah, but so provided it is used as his own name only.
For example, if the defendant, sir, was a franchisee, for example, of say McDonald's, he has changed it and now he is using ABC, and in small letters he writes ex-franchisee of McDonald's. So
once you talk of franchise business, means you are using it as a trademark. Then that is prohibited.
And suppose if he was not using it in sense of franchisee, but saying something which is a statement of truth, that this I was or I have been trained by ABC.
The answer will depend on your intention. If your intention is to show some old connection with you,
correct,
or that person, then it will be actionable, not otherwise.
So even sir, therefore a statement of fact can also be actionable if
Yeah,
it was a misrepresentation.
I will give you an illustration. Suppose somebody sells used Gillette blades, second-hand Gillette blades, or second-hand 7 o'clock blades. Now that will amount to passing off. What he is doing, he is not saying that they are my goods.
Correct.
He is saying I am selling you Gillette goods, and they are originally Gillette goods. The only difference between the original goods having the quality and the second-hand goods having not that quality at all.
Correct.
So that amounts to misrepresentation. Ultimately, the whole idea is that trading must not be honest, but it must not be even unintentionally unfair.
Correct. Correct.
Long and short of it is what Lord Parker said in Parker Note.
Correct. So what we said, sir, that it, as you correctly said, sir, it not only has to be honest, but you have to ensure that by mistake also, or inadvertently also it is not dishonest.
By mistake, you don't cause any confusion. Idea is to prevent confusion.
Somebody has asked, but I think they will have to come and seek your advice separately. Somebody has said, hello, sir. Hope you are doing well and are safe. I have been fortunate to witness you pleading your case before Honorable Justice Kathawala and absolutely inspired by you. Could you please provide guidance to LLB graduate inclined to pursue career in IPR and desire to be an IPR attorney?
You better answer that question.
The threshold for trademark is way lower than passing off. The threshold for trademark is way lower than passing off. So in a given case where both remedies are available, which one shall be availed of? Can we invoke both?
Yes, you can invoke both. For example, in a trademark case, you may be in a better position to succeed because you may not be using the mark. You may not have that sufficient reputation. Then your passing of action may not lie. But infringement action will lie. But take a case where your mark is not so strong. It has some descriptive element. Then the other side may say that we are going to challenge your registration, and therefore no injunction should be granted. In that event, you will be able to rely on your reputation, if it is tremendous reputation, to maintain an action for passing off. So it is always advisable to take action in both infringement and passing off wherever possible.
Using a similar trademark which is not a well-known trademark with respect to different goods but belonging to the same class, does that amount to passing off or infringement? If defendant uses a similar mark which is not a well-known trademark with respect to different goods but the goods fall under the same class, does that amount to passing off action or infringement?
It will amount to an infringement action, because it is covered by the registration, provided it is covered by the registration.
And those goods are covered in the registration.
Covered in the registration category.
Connecting last week's webinar on personality rights, mimicking someone's voice or someone's style amounts to passing off, not because of misrepresentation, but only on taking advantage of someone's goodwill. In such case, do we also have to show damages and misrepresentation?
No, once you prove misrepresentation and you prove your own reputation, damages will be presumed. Now, how much damages will be awarded to you will depend on what proof you leave.
My trade name gets copied, though I have different trademark for my goods. So the defendant does not copy my trademark, but copies and registers my trade name and uses the same for identical goods.
Yeah, you will be able to maintain an action for passing off.
How one would differentiate between infringement and passing off?
Oh,
paragraph 6.
Paragraph 28. Oh, give them the judgment.
Paragraph 28 of Kaviraj Pandit or paragraph number 6 of Rustam?
Rustam.
AR 1970.
That's correct. That's correct.
Sir, somebody has said, could you give us a gist on the basic difference between infringement and passing off?
Infringement action can take place provided your mark is registered. That is the basic difference. In case of passing off action will lie even if when the mark is not registered. Secondly, you will not, in case of an infringement action, you don't have to prove your reputation or goodwill. All that you have to prove is that you are a registered proprietor of the trademark. Whereas in a passing of action, you are required to establish that. Misrepresentation is a common thing. Both actions you will have to establish that by use of a particular mark, the defendant is making a misrepresentation, whether it is infringement action or passing of action. And as we discussed earlier, passing of action is much wider action available in different type of cases. Different situations arise, and therefore the law takes its own shape. As I said, that is why it is called most protean of the actions. For passing of action is the most protean of actions, because it takes the shape to deal with that particular demon in the particular manner.
Correct.
That is why the advocate case decided that no, even the contents were important, and that contents made that product very popular.
Correct. Also, sir, and just to add to that also, that in infringement action, what you are really protecting is your property as a trademark. And in passing off, what you are really protecting is goodwill and reputation. So that is
represented by that mark.
Correct, represented by that mark. Sir, can a design registrant make a claim of passing off?
Yes. Provided he fulfills the conditions of passing of action: reputation, misrepresentation, and damage. But design is a very weak form of intellectual property.
Passing off in a design matter, would it not be like extending the term of the design indefinitely then?
If it is a passing off, it's a separate.
Expired.
It may not be on the basis of design that the court will grant injunction beyond 20 years. But as far as passing off concerned, it will certainly grant. There is no time limit for cheating.
If the features of the design are the same, and
therefore there is no time limit for cheating. No, you can perpetually go on cheating. There is no limitation for that.
Correct.
Is passing off remedy available over descriptive matter?
It all depends on what type of descriptive matter is. Descriptive matter, if it has acquired distinctiveness. For example, the illustration which Mr. Shavaksha has given, our first registrar of trademark, that in respect of BEST, no action for infringement could lie because that mark could never be registered. But if somebody else started a transport service in Bombay, certainly municipal corporation will be able to prevent them from using BEST as a trademark in respect of defendant services, though it is purely laudatory, purely descriptive. So it depends on the matter to matter.
Can passing of action be applied to section 29(5) of the Act? Trading name, basically.
Yeah, of course. Kirloskar was the example.
Trading
Kirloskar versus Kirloskar was a passing of action. Mahindra and Mahindra was a passing of action. Correct. It was used in respect of the name.
People register their trademark for multiple goods in the same class, but they do business for one or two goods. In that case, if we file similar trademark for the goods which is not used by them, does that still amount to infringement?
It will amount to infringement so long as the plaintiff's defendant's mark is on the register. You will have to make an application for rectification, get his mark removed. Otherwise, he has a full protection to use his mark.
Can we claim exclusive rights over the religious names, God, ideals in a passing of action of infringement, contra judgments of Bombay and Calcutta? How should we proceed?
No. You can't claim. There are judgments to that effect. Lakshmi in respect of brooms was not allowed.
Correct.
Though it was registered.
There the Bombay Court division.
Ramesh will be able to throw light on that.
Yes.
Lakshmi versus Mahalakshmi.
Yeah, that's right. Mahalakshmi.
Sir, actual use of the product in the Indian market necessary even if you have registered the trademark?
No, for infringement action it is not necessary.
Correct. But I may add to that, however, that it is not necessary, but nowadays courts take a view that if it is not used for a long period of time, then injunction they consider, because it is ultimately the equitable relief under 39. So,
but according to me, that should not be the view, because by the time the suit comes up for hearing, the mark stands destroyed.
that is true.
Yes.
And sir, also to support what you are saying, section 18 specifically talks about you can make an application for the mark which is on proposed
to be used. Proposed to be used. Yeah. Yes.
In a COVID-19 scenario, can a drug manufactured and used for curing corona virus by an Indian generic company be stalled or prohibited by a generic pharma company who might develop a specific drug for the virus?
How does the trademark come in there?
There is not a mention of trademark here.
No. And if it's a case covered by the patent,
yeah,
then in public interest, the government can allow that drug to be used.
And right now, I think the public interest is of utmost importance. So
absolutely.
Anything that happens, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Sir, there are many more, but I think Mr. Gajaria will have to reply later independently.
Yeah.
But sir, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We got to know not only how did this principle evolved, and I would also like to tell the viewers, like right from the beginning of Southern versus Howe, which sir told us, the latest case which was decided by Bombay High Court, and a very good judgment, a good rationale which has been laid down, has come in a matter which sir has only argued, which is the item matter of Bombay High Court, which I will urge all the viewers to actually read. Aviva versus Aegon, Justice Kathawala judgment on principles of passing off, which was argued by sir, and sir succeeded there.
It was a family fight.
Mr. Virag Tulsapurkar appeared for the plaintiff and sir appeared for the defendant. Hence, sir is saying it was a family fight. But all these principles of Jeff Lemon and how 5 were reduced to 3 and Cadbury ships, everything has been discussed. So I will urge everybody to read that judgment in order to understand in a better manner what sir has told us today. But thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for sparing so much time for us.
No. Thank you.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Viren, for doing all the work on the slides and everything.
My pleasure, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.